How you doing, YouTube? This is your boy Brogi Naric back again with another episode of Bump Psychology. Gonna be doing something a little different. It's not gonna be a reaction. I'm gonna be giving my review of AEW Dynamite on TNT, the first episode of AEW Dynamite on TNT, and I was there in the Capital One Center in DC, and I had a blast. I was so excited to be there because I never did I think I would be at something like this, because I didn't think they were going to have the show, the first episode, somewhere close to me, and it was in DC. I live in the Richmond area, so I drove up to DC and got there, had a blast, great crowd, great atmosphere, and I'm just going to give my perspective of how the show went down, because I would love to see how it was when it was filmed, because didn't get to hear the commentary. You can see some of the camera angles, and from what I could see on the Titantrons, it looked really good. So with this video, I'm going to give quick thoughts. I'm not going to give every detail for every match because I can't remember everything, but I'm just going to talk about my experience and how much I enjoyed this first episode of AEW Dynamite. They can keep things as good, because it wasn't a perfect show, but if they can keep it at this level and above it, that, you know, the sky's the limit for them. So the show kicked off, you know, they had Justin Roberts in the ring, and he was getting everybody excited. So there was that, waiting for that opening moment where we were live, and the crowd was insane. The building was packed. It wasn't like completely sold out, but because there were certain sections that was blocked off for the cameras, but then there was certain sections that were kind of light. But if you looked at the rest of the center, especially at the top, like the nosebleeds area, it was packed. Like, you could bet it was full. It was a full house. Like, forget what you see. Like, some people might say, oh, it wasn't sold out, but it was a full house though. So yeah, it was crazy. The first match that happened, which they didn't show, they haven't aired, but they'll probably air it a little bit later, was Darby Allin versus Shima. That was the first dark match that they had. And I gotta say, Darby Allin, at least with this crowd, Darby Allin was over. He got a big pop for coming out. So did Shima. Shima got a good pop too, but Darby was like, the crowd was really into him, into Darby Allin. It was a really good match. Mainly both of them was working the knee. You know, Shima does his Meteoras, and Darby kept trying to take out Shima's knees. He kept trying to do the coffin drop. He did the coffin drop like 2 times. One time he missed. The other time he landed on Shima's knees, which took him out for a little bit. But he eventually won. I forget how I remember he did a coffin drop on Shima's stomach and got the pin. So it was a very solid opening match. So then the show started. It had the promo. I wish I could hear the show's intro theme. I can't wait till they drop that on YouTube, because the visuals look good, but we couldn't really hear it. That was one of the problems. The audio was kind of hit and miss. Like, the music was good, but the mics, sometimes it was cutting out, or the mics were too low, and you can kind of hear them kind of adjusting it to get it better. But that was a consistent problem throughout the night. And there were a couple of botches in certain matches, which is to be expected, although some were like pretty bad. So opening match was Sammy Guevara versus Cody. This match was awesome. I didn't think this match was gonna be as awesome as it was, or as it was really good. It was like a pay-per-view level match. Cody, he knows how to produce a match. He's been producing the best matches consistently on all of the different AEW pay-per-views. And Sammy Guevara looked amazing. And it was funny because Cody comes out with him and Brandy, and that was one of the biggest pops of the night. The crowd was insanely with Cody, and it was just when he was on the ring, when he was on the ramp, him and Brandy standing there, and when they kissed, like, the crowd just was eating it up. And then Sammy came out, and then the crowd turned on Sammy, and I was like, what did Sammy do? He hasn't done anything. But the crowd was booing him, and he did good heel stuff too, especially the moment when he pulled Brandy in the way, and Cody landed on Brandy, and then the crowd gave Sammy asshole chance. I hope that came across on TV, because this crowd was hilarious. There were some funny signs. They had the Vince Spears ratings signs. There was the Vince McMahon doing the Captain Kirk Khan scream sign. There was a kid in the audience that was dressed up like Orange Cassidy. I think I don't know how many times they showed him on TV, but there was a little kid in the front row dressed up like Orange Cassidy, which was hilarious. There was a lot of good chants too, because yeah, Sammy got the asshole chant. There's another chant that happened later on that was really funny. So Sammy pulls Brandy in the way, but then of course, because Cody is still kind of a heel, and Brandy comes back and hits Sammy with the heel of her shoe, which looked devastating. There was a disaster kick. No, it was a springboard stunner, which was really good from Cody onto Sammy. And I remember Sammy doing the Spanish fly. He didn't get all of it, but he did the Spanish fly, and then that's how Cody won. He survived it and was able to quickly do a roll-up pin, which was interesting that the match ended all this high flying and it ends up with a simple roll-up pin, and Cody wins the match. But they did a damn good job to make Sammy Guevara seem like a credible threat, because Sammy was doing amazing stuff. It was like, I think it was like an inverted, they did something off the top rope onto Sammy, and you would have thought that would have been the end of it, but Sammy kicked out. So, of course, after Cody wins, Jericho runs in. Oh, no. Sammy was gonna shake Cody's hand, but then Jericho came in and just for the next probably 10 to 15 minutes just beat the hell out of Cody Rhodes. He just stumped him, punched him, took him outside of the ring, threw him in the barricades, hit him with the bell. He took the one of the camera guys' camera and took a selfie. It was great. The crowd. It was funny because the crowd was like cheering because it's Jericho, but they were also kind of booing at the same time. But they were mostly cheering because it was Chris Jericho, and we was just happy to see Chris Jericho. He looked awesome, and whenever a star like Jericho comes out, he's gonna get a good pop. But then the next match was Brandon Cutler versus MJF, which I would have to say was the weakest match of the night. Very short as well, but MJF came out with a good promo, which was hilarious. Of course, MJF is always hilarious, and he was talking shit about the crowd, and there was great reactions to that. And so they had a quick match. There was a moment where Cutler did a suicida out of the ring, and I think he must have tweaked his knee, because when they got back in the ring, he got on the top rope and he like slipped off, and he was grabbing his knee when he landed. So that was a botch, and I think they tried to play it off as, you know, he hurt his knee or whatever, which I think he really did. And before you know it, he was in the submission hold. He wasn't even in the submission hold that long, and he just tapped out. And it was kind of, the crowd was kind of like, what happened? But because we could barely see the tap out, or you couldn't hear it either. So it was, it was a quick match. MJF is awesome. I wish the match could have been better, but it is what it is. After that, there was a promo at SCU. They were doing the Scorpio Sky was Obama, and the Frankie and Christopher Daniels were his security guys, and they did their promo. Then there was an interview with Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes promoting the new, I think, Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Jack Evans and Angelico interrupted, and they have a little back and forth, and then Private Party was coming in, and then they got into a little scuffle, which would lead to a dark match later on that didn't air. I think they're gonna air all of those, because they were recording those matches. So that happened. Then there was an interview with SCU saying they were gonna put in Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, which I wish it was Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, because I haven't seen much of them, but like especially this night, I realized how awesome Scorpio Sky is. Like he can command the crowd. There wasn't a lot of people who got on the mic, but he was one of them, and he did an amazing job with the crowd, especially in his dark match when he was talking. So the Lucha Brothers come out, interrupt them. They get into a match. They get into a fight, into a little brawl, which I wasn't sure if this had aired or not, but apparently it did air. And that, like I said, would lead to a 4-man tag match later on after the show on the dark matches. So after that, we get Earl Hebner. Earl Hebner comes out, and he gets his little crowd, and he gets his little pop, and sadly, assholes in the stadium were chanting, "You screwed Brett," which I did not like. Just let the man live his life. So then we get Adam Hangman Page versus Pac, Bastard Pac, and I don't know how it came off across on TV, but the pops weren't as big for them, and I don't think it was just because we don't like them, because the crowd, we like them. We be just really tired from the earlier pop for Jericho and Cody, because like we put a lot of energy in Jericho coming out, Cody coming out, and then the opening of the show. So we were kind of tired, but it took a while for the match to get going because Pac would not stay in the ring, and I believe they were saving time for a commercial as well. But he would get in the ring for like 2 seconds, immediately roll out, and just start yelling at the people in the crowd. And of course, he got a "You're a bastard" chant. I don't know if that was Aaron, but he got a "You're a bastard" chant, which was funny because one guy sitting next to me was like, "He knows." So, like I said, funny crowd. This crowd was hilarious. I really liked Hangman, but like seeing him in this match, this was probably his best match in AEW. He was crisp. There was not a single mishap. I loved when he was down, the crowd got behind him. There was, clapping, cheering for him, but Pac was like slowing it down and keeping him grounded. There was a moment where he did the moonsault outside of the ring, which was amazing. Especially, I don't like seeing when he does moonsaults. Like him and Cody, I don't like seeing when they're on the top rope, but Hangman is much better when he does the high flying stuff than Cody is. But like I always, such a guy that size, it's like he doesn't look that aerodynamic, but he does a good job. There was the spot where Pac had pushed up on El Hebner, and then he low blowed with the back kick to Adam Hangman Page, which was like near the end of the match. There was other stuff that happened. I can't really remember all of it. But then Pac rolled him over to the corner. He did the Black Arrow, then put him in the Brutalizer, the Rings of Saturn, and Hangman passed out. This was a slower match than the others. I don't know how it came across on TV, but being there, I really enjoyed this match, although I would say it was probably my 4th favorite match compared to the other matches, but damn good match. And I'm loving Hangman, and I'm loving Pac, especially Pac being dominant with his 2-0 win. So, fun times. So, next up was Rijo versus Nyla Rose. This match is a mixed bag because, yes, there's a couple of botches in this, and I don't know how it came across on TV, but in the stadium, this was an amazing thing to witness because the crowd was not for or against anyone in the beginning. Nyla Rose came out, she got a good pop. She's from DC. She got a good pop. Rijo came out, she got a good pop. Rijo has a awesome ass intro theme as well. Like her theme was really lit. It felt like a K-pop nightclub. It was really good. So the crowd was kind of 50-50. Like they was fine with either or, but the general consensus was Nyla Rose is going to win this match. She's just going to overpower Rijo. And seeing Rijo in person, like they say Rijo is tiny, but seeing her in person, she is really tiny. She's a lot smaller than I realized. So the match goes on, and most of it is Rijo keeps trying to slam. She keeps wanting to try to slam Nyla Rose, and Nyla Rose is like, "What are you doing? This is not going to happen." And I like how that builds up later throughout the match. Yeah, the crowd was split at the beginning, but like after a while, the crowd was generally behind Rijo. Like, because every time Rijo kicked out, you would think like after a big dominant move, it's like, all right, this match is over, and then Rijo kicks out, and the crowd was just like, you could see the crowd from like going from like sitting down to eventually on their feet, especially when I think it was after she Nyla Rose jumped off the rope and hit Rijo in the back of the head with the knee, which I think didn't air. That was during the commercial, but it was awesome. And when she kicked out of that, I think that was the moment when the crowd, I mean, especially me, I jumped on my feet like, what is going on here? And so from that point on, the audience was behind this match. There was a moment when Nyla caught Rijo as she jumped off the top rope, which was awesome, and then slammed her down. Nyla got out a chair, but she didn't hit it. The ref stopped it. That was another thing. There was a couple of times where the 2 counts seemed like there was a 3 count, and they botched it. I'm not sure, but because there was a moment when the crowd was like, "Wait, was that a 2 count or not?" It looked weird, but maybe it was just a really close 2 count. But that happened a couple of times, so there was like some "this ref sucks" chants for a couple of seconds. But yeah, Nyla Rose jumped off the rope and landed to the pile of chairs, which was the thing that really softened her up for Rijo to take her down. There was a lot of forearm shots from Rijo. There was a moment where Nyla had her in a submission hold, and it looked like, to us, Nyla Rose had choked out Rijo. Because it looked like the ref was about to make a call, but Rijo came back, and she did her thing, and she ended up winning the match. She did the stomp on Nyla Rose, which is really good. That looks painful. Even though she's small, it just looks, it's because her feet are so accurate, it looks like it hurts really bad. Rijo wins by double knees running into the corner, and she got the pin, and the crowd lost its mind. That belt looks really good. The belt is really small too. One guy sitting beside me was like, "Well, Riho's clearly winning the belt because the belt is so small. It's perfect for her," and he was absolutely right. And it was awesome. So Michael Nakazawa comes out, and it was hard to understand what he was saying because he has a thick accent, and also, like I said, the mics weren't working. And then Nyla Rose comes in and she botches her power bomb thing. It looked like she slammed him on his head. And I was kind of like, well, she is tired. She was, you can clearly see she was gassed. Like, Nyla was super tired, and then she has to go and lift Michael Nakazawa. But then Kenny Omega came in because she was about to attack Rijo, which was awesome. Kenny came in with the save to back off Nia Jax. Rijo wins. Rijo went up to the top of the stage. She got a pop, although it was funny because she was at the top of the stage holding up the belt, but also on the screen, the Elite were on the screen. So I can't tell how many people were cheering for the Elite and how many people were cheering for her, but it was a good pop either way. So they can manipulate that footage any way they want to. Next, the main event of the show. The Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Chris Jericho and Santana and Ortiz. Now, I have to admit, when the Bucks came out, it was hot. The crowd was hot for the Bucks, and then we kind of died down a little bit, and Nick Jackson, he gave a little speech. No, it was Matt Jackson. It was all of them, but like Matt was the main one who was like trying to get the crowd hyped up. I think it was building it up for when the show came back from commercial, and the stadium exploded. It was like, you know, everybody was doing the Elite theme, and it was really great. So we were tired. Jericho comes out and Santana Ortiz comes out. The pops wasn't as big because, like I said, we just put so much energy into the pops beforehand. But we were excited for the match. The match started off decent enough, and it was going. Kenny was super over. They was doing the Terminator clap. It was so loud, especially when he was about to do it in the he was about to dive out onto Santana Ortiz, and then that's when Moxley ran in, and we lost our mind. Like, I didn't even realize he had run in, and then I couldn't tell who it was. It's like, oh wait, it's Moxley. So Moxley comes in, he's attacking Kenny, and this was great because they had the two screens. One screen was what was happening in the ring, and the other screen what was happening with Kenny and Moxley. So the crowd was kind of split on what they should pay attention to. But of course, everybody was mainly focusing on Moxley and Kenny. They got to fighting in the hallway. Kenny hit Moxley with a mop and like did a little cleaner thing. That was really funny. And they ended up in this like little box, the little little small skybox area. It wasn't a skybox, but it was like a private VIP area. And they got to fighting on the door, and then Moxley DDT, this the Death Rider DDT to Kenny Omega through the glass table. That was amazing. The crowd lost its shit, and we were kind of like, when we went back to the main match, we were kind of a little tired. It kind of died down a little bit, but they got us back into it. I will say it because there was a lot of it was just Santana and Ortiz and Jericho, mostly Santana and Ortiz, beating up on Matt Jackson. And whenever Matt would get close to try to tag in Nick, they would pull him off they would either pull back Matt or they would knock Nick off the turnbuckle so he couldn't get the tag. But there was this moment where the crowd started clapping. Nick Jackson was chanting. He was getting the crowd into it, and it was just the whole building was clapping loud, waiting for Matt to get the tag to Nick. And when Nick got in there, he unloaded on everybody. That sequence he had taking everybody out, where he did like the clothesline DDT thing, and then he jumped out on top of them, and he like did the little stint, and he was like posing for the crowd. Amazing. That was. The crowd was super into that, and it was so badass. But eventually Jericho beat the hell out of him. There was a moment, apparently it didn't air, but you can see it on Instagram and everything, where Jericho got on the microphone. I was sad this didn't air because this was hilarious. He picks up a hot dog in the ring. He was like, "Wait a second, I got a question. Who threw the wiener?" And everybody started laughing, and they were like, "You're a wiener." Clap, 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 clap. You're a wiener. Like I said, this crowd was hilarious. Yeah. They was about to do the Meltzer driver, and Jericho broke it up by doing the code breaker onto, I think it was Matt. It was either Matt or Nick, but he broke it up by doing a code breaker. Then he hit the Judas Effect on, I believe, Matt Jackson, and they won the match. And then after that, Cody Rhodes, they started beating him up. Cody Rhodes runs in, and then they jump Cody. Sammy Guevara runs in, and he takes out Cody. Then Dustin Rhodes comes in, which was awesome, and he takes out Sammy, but eventually Jake Hager runs in, aka Jack Swagger, just runs in from the crowd and takes down Dustin. And the crowd they were like pissed, but they were excited at the same time because he got some legitimate boos. Like there was like, especially one guy that was like a couple rows ahead of me. He was so mad that Jack Swagger popped it. He was so mad. He was like throwing popcorn. That's how mad he was. But the crowd was kind of like, they wanted CM Punk, but I knew he wasn't gonna pop up at least at this show. I don't know. The whole WWE stuff, TV show stuff. I don't think he's ever gonna show up in AEW anytime soon. So when I like Swagger, so when he came out, the crowd was legitimately like, "Oh, it's Swagger," but then they was like, "Ah, crap, it's Swagger, boo!" But then we got into it, and then that's when we got some "We the People" chants, which was done sort of ironically, but it was still funny, and he got legitimate boos. So that's how the show ended. They continued to beat up on the rest of the Face, the Elite, and the Nightmare family. And then they walked up the ramp, and their new faction, which that faction of Jericho, Guevara, Jake Hager, Santana, and Ortiz, that's a dope-ass faction. Hopefully they'll call themselves the Alpha Club. That's my suggestion. But it was really cool. And that ended the show, and like I said, amazing. Loved it. Really, like the atmosphere. I want to see how it came off on TV because I couldn't hear Tony Schiavone and the commentary. Although I heard Tony Schiavone was really good at what he did, which I'm glad to hear. And he seemed energetic. There was a moment when he was in the ring talking, and he was very happy to be there. Now, one of the things that happened, which happened a couple of times throughout the show, because the crowd was hot for one person in particular, and he eventually showed up, but it took forever, and that person was Luchasaurus. He had a number of chants throughout the night because people really wanted to see Luchasaurus. So we get the dark matches. Like I said, it was the Lucha Brothers, Jack Evans, and Angelico versus Private Party and the Best Friends with Orange Cassidy. And there was a moment where Jack Evans flipped into the ring and he landed on his face. It was, I couldn't tell, he tripped up on the rope. I couldn't tell if it was on purpose or it was an accident. I would say it was on purpose, the way he played it off, but it was pretty funny how he just face planted on his face because he was doing this flip into the ring. The match was good. It was a bit sloppy at times. There was some good stuff between, I have to say Chucky T actually looked pretty good in this match, and I'm not a big fan of Chuck Taylor, but he had some good moments in this match. There was a moment where the Lucha Brothers did the package pile driver stomp. Phoenix is a freak of nature. There was a moment where they had, I believe it was Chucky T or Beretta, was hanging off on the side of the rope, and Pentagon was holding them, and Phoenix jumped on the turnbuckle and ran across the rope just to kick him in the face. Then he jumped off and did the stomp onto the package pile driver. Amazing. There was a moment where Marcus Quinn from Private Party, his glasses fell off, and they were all dumped outside of the ring. Chucky T picked up the glasses, and he was about to do a dive, but Beretta stopped him. They did the hug, and then they both did the dive. Orange Cassidy got involved. I think Jack Evans or Angelico hit Orange Cassidy. So then he, later on in the match, he got involved. He climbed up the turnbuckle and did his little hands in his pocket dive on top of him. And once again, the kid that was dressed up like him was still there, so of course they put the camera back on him. Fun match, but I think Pentagon got the pin on the guy from the light-skinned dude from Private Party. I think he was the one who took the pin. But it was a fun match. Like I said, I think that's going to air because they were recording it. There was another match after that. It was a women's tag match. It was Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Allie versus Penelope Ford and B. Priestley. I did not see this match because that was the time when I left. I was trying to find the pink Better Than You MJF shirt, but they were all sold out. So by the time I got back from looking for the shirt and going to the bathroom, that match was over. I heard it was okay. But the last match was SCU versus the Jungle Express. And the crowd was so excited to see Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, but especially Luchasaurus, because he, like I said, was getting pops all night. This was a fun match. It was very similar to the match they did at All Out. The opening match from All Out. It was very similar to that, but it was a little bit crisper because Jungle Express had more three-man offensive moves. There was some good stuff, some fun stuff with Marco's stunt getting beat up on, and the match ended pretty much the same. They beat up Marco's stunt and pinned him, and SCU wins, which I think is also to illustrate that in the tag team tournament, Marco's stunt is the weak point, but it's only going to be Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus that's the stronger parts of that unit, so it should help them out to win the tournament. But fun match, and afterwards, Christopher Daniels gave his speech. I thought it was going to be Cody Rhodes, but Christopher Daniels gave his speech. He's like, oh, thanks for being here, thanks for being part of history, and I want you guys to say 3 words, but instead of saying SCU, say AEW, and that was the end of the show. Frank Kazarian and Scorpio Sky got on the mic too, and very, very touching stuff, and it was fun. Because after the match, Justin Roberts was like, we're going to have 3 matches, and I was like, oh my god, I don't want 3 matches, but they were good. Like I said, the 2 that I saw were really good, so I was fine with it, and it didn't go on too long. It ended about, the show went off at like 10, and the 3 matches, it ended about 11 o'clock, so yeah, maybe a little bit after 11, so it wasn't too much longer, and yeah, fun show. I had a great time, great experience. I can say I was a part of history. Yeah, not much I can really complain about. I enjoyed it. I want this to continue. I want to check out NXT because I heard it was really good. Because it was funny, some people were on their phones like, well, this happened on NXT while this was happening. And I was like, all right, I'll check out NXT. I want to see what they did on NXT. But the premiere of AEW on TNT, AEW Dynamite on TNT was a success. Can't wait to see what other stuff they're going to do next week because I am amped. I am excited. They did a damn good job. I know there was still some mishaps, but for coming out of the gate, they did a fantastic job. Let me know what you thought about the show in the comments. Give this video a like. Don't forget to share and subscribe to the channel. Check out other videos on this channel. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. Peace.